Okay, let's just get right started with the lesson on this morning. Good morning to everybody. Good afternoon or good evening, depending on what time of the day that you will be viewing me. Again, I'm bringing you a series of teachings, a series of one-on-one dialogue, a series of wisdom, understanding, and knowledge that we both can glean from each other. Now, I know I'm sitting in front of a camera and a computer talking into it, but I don't see that camera only and see this computer only, but I see people. I see thousands of people who need wisdom for life, who need somebody to talk to them one-on-one, straight talk, without all the religious googly gosh and all of the biblical terminology that no one understands, all the religious jargon that when it comes down to it, somebody then put something together in words and made it so it can sound real good, and it will be only known to a privileged few, the clergy. Yeah. I mean, we get so many words, substantiation and justification, and and so some of those words has real good meanings behind them. But my Lord, chastism and all this other stuff. I mean, you wouldn't. That's why you got big people with these big PhDs and these degrees in philosophy. Because the word and the career, it made a whole entire career out of words. But words are for individuals to obtain knowledge, wisdom, to gain wisdom for life and living. It's not just for the privileged few and people who wants to separate themselves from others to look like and to be something of importance in society, but it's for me and you, the common folk, people that want a change in life and are seeking a better way of living and to a better way of self-discovery. Because whenever you go through a problem in life, whether it's an inner problem, whether it's an outer problem, or in your environment, or in your situation that you're dealing with in your immediate surroundings, there's a point in time that you're going to need some wisdom, or you're going to need some knowledge and understanding to deal with that situation in life. And let me tell you, when you're going through a crisis, look, you don't want to hear about, these big long words that that people use when they get real educated. And so, you don't want to, when you're going through a crisis, you don't want to hear that. You want to hear something plain, simple, and straight to the point to bless your heart and your soul so you can make it through the day, and then you have some resources, because that's what knowledge allows you to have, and gives you a storehouse of resources that you can draw from in the time of need. It doesn't do me any good if I got a whole bunch of knowledge in my head and I can't draw from it, and I can't get it and use it when I actually need it. So, I mean, I can learn all these big fine words and everything, and make me look good in front of people. Yeah. It make me look real good in front of a classroom of people talking about these big highfalutin terminology and whatnot when it comes down to philosophy. Yes, but it does me no good in the long run. I done beat that horse long and hard enough. You get my point. But I'm coming, and I'm gonna be talking to you, as I stated before, from my manuscript that I am now in the process of preparing for publication in book form, and it is called Individualism, the Philosophy of Resolve. And I'm taken to the cyberspace, taken to the airways and to the clouds, And I am talking about the information and the things and the thoughts that I have accumulated over the years. And I started this is actually 2015, but I started accumulating these thoughts and these notes in 2004. Right at almost 11 years ago. And pretty much won't be still published in the next year and a half or so. But I'm not waiting. I am so enthusiastic about this information and about what's being said that I said in these as a result of my studies, my studies in biblical studies, because I have a bachelor's in theology, but also I have secular degree also. But degrees don't matter. It's the life experience that really dominates this book, the message and the words that's in this manuscript. It is my life experiences and what I learned as a result of study. Study is very important, because we have to study to show and to make ourselves approved workmen, people that is actually doing work, not just sitting on their laurels waiting for somebody to dump information in us. But we actually got to get involved within our own lives. And I call it being a participant in your own life. Stop waiting for somebody to tell you what to do. If you got a problem, get up and get out and look for a solution to that problem. It's there because God has already put it in motion in the universe. It's a part of us. He had put certain laws in effect, just like the law of gravity. And it's simple and it's easy. What goes up must come down on this earth, because the pull and the force of gravity all around this earth. But there's a law unto it. But there also is the law of aerodynamics. And yes, what goes up must come down. But there's another law that can counteract and supersede the law of gravity. And that is the law of aerodynamics. And I'm telling you, those Wright brothers, they didn't have a whole bunch of philosophical degrees. Look, the people that discovered and that defied the law of aerodynamics and all these big jumbo jets and planes that are flying all over everywhere, but they didn't do it sitting around philosophizing. They did it by experimentation, putting contraptions together. You look at the documentations on the Wright brothers from North Carolina. They put it together. The people criticized them and told them that stuff that they were doing wasn't going to work. But they didn't listen to the naysayers. They didn't listen to the contractors. They took what they knew and they started to work on it. And then they were making them contraptions and putting them in the air, and some of them will fall to the ground, but then they will put something else together and that will fly and stay up there a little bit longer, and then they will put something else together and that will fly and it will stay up there a little bit longer. And that's what you got to do. That's what happens. There's a point where you got to stop doing all that philosophizing and thinking about it and put some knowledge to action and start working on what you have discovered. Because we can make a lot of discoveries in this life, but we got to get with it and start some action. You know what? That's what it's all about. Now, let me calm myself down, because I get excited when I think about it. I get excited when I think about, the possibilities and the supernatural forces that are in operation that I can grasp on to because I believe and make it work in the natural. That's what it had. Those Wright brothers, it took a amount and a level of faith to go against what everybody's saying. Man, that ain't gonna work. This is just this big idea of staying up there. Why do it anyway? What's the purpose? You got cars, you got horse and buggy, and you can move around on ground. Well, there's no sense to be taken up and trying to fly. That's for the birds. But they didn't have the vision that the Wright brothers had. It's 2015 now. What were they going around? What 1909 or something like that? I forget the actual time when they actually discovered it. I mean, but it ain't been too much over 100 years, and some of we still got people around today that's 106 and 4 years old, and that I've met, and even the people that are 98 and 99 that I've talked to, that was during that time when they just was now. Planes was up in the air. They just didn't have it up there good. And they talk about the excitement that they saw and felt when the planes was up there, and how they would just stop and look whenever one would be flown around. That's what I'm talking about. There's a time when we had to stop. We had to put what we learned into action. So I can have all these ideas, and they just be ideas. I can have a good mind to do something and never actually do it. And let me tell you, man, brothers, sisters, hey, that's what this manuscript that I've written is all about. And it's called, again, Individualism, the Philosophy of Resolve. And you may have, and those who are educated in that word, and again, it's just a word, but words are important. And this is a learning environment that me and you are creating among each other and between each other. It is a learning environment. So I'm just not talking and want to dominate the dialogue and the conversation. Want your input too. This is me and you, and I'm just and look, and it's easy to do now to make your comment. Get on Facebook, get on these other social networks, and talk about this stuff that I'm relaying to you today. Your opinion is important, and it is just an opinion until you get it out. You get it out of your system and you give it to somebody. Love is something if you give it away. And that's what you got to do. You got to give that wisdom that you learn. You got to issue it out for someone other than yourself. It's nothing sitting inside your head, and it's not helping no one. It's not even helping you until you get it out and act on it and talk about it and share it and put it into action in your life. And we're not talking about that word that was coined a while back, and it's talking about the laissez-faire, the philosophy that started, and the ideas that were surrounding capitalism, about free economic enterprise, and that the state was the people. Was not made for the state, but the state was made for the people. We understand, and we live in this economic age and this capitalistic society that we have in America, and I like some aspects of it, and I think some aspects are beautiful about our economy and about how we do business here in the United States. And when it's not all good, and that the way we do business in the United States is not perfect by far, but I mean, it's better than in some systems, yeah, and we improved on it, and then in some areas we have made it worse, yeah. We have broke it down in some areas, so we got a long ways to go. But it is this world system. And about the things of the world. The things of the world are fleeting and is fading. It's here today and it's gone tomorrow. The greatest empires that ever lived crumbled at one time. Rome and Babylon, even before Rome. And then the Grecian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire. I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, you have these great empires that last only a while. Even the Great Britain during its era and during the prime and the time of its time, and now we come to this great and most powerful beast, the United States of America. And I tell you, it's a great and wonderful country, and it's good to be a part of it. But let me tell you, don't you know that it's still a world system, and in all these world systems, until these world system crumbles and fall, it's gonna go on as business as usual until the kingdoms of this world become the kingdom of his Christ and his anointing, and all things fall upon the Messiah, and then then that's everlasting. But that also is to be seen, and it's a part of a belief system. Okay, but we're not talking about individualism in that aspect, no terminology of the word. Look up the word and you will find its origin in free enterprise. Okay, but in that aspect, in that context about free enterprise, you as an individual or person, think of yourself as a governing body, as your own governing body. You have a mind, you have an intellect, you have a will, and you have emotions. With my will, mind, intellect, and emotions, these are members of my particular body. That's me, myself, and I. That's the governing body in this house that I live in. Me, myself, and I. Now, I have invited, because I have chosen a way of life that deals with faith. You don't have to do so according to what I believe. It is all on you. Okay, because we're going to get into religion and, me trying to persuade you to come on over on this side and to Christianity and forget about everything else and to do it. It would be wonderful, because ain't nothing wrong with when you practice it the right way. But Christianity. But let me tell you something about Christianity. Christianity can be and has been the biggest fraud that there has ever been. You know it. Do your studies in history. So I'm not promoting how men have practiced their faith throughout eternity or throughout human history. It's not about that. But it's about human beings looking for resolve and reconciliation for personal living. That's what I'm talking about. And that's what the aspect of individualism that I am bringing out that aspect of. And yes, about that free enterprise, you are a free enterprise. You are a governing body. You have the ability and the power and the spirit to make your own decisions. Choose whom you shall serve. If you serve ignorance, you shall reap a harvest of stupidity. If you sow seeds of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, you shall reach prosperity, peace, and power for living. If you sow seeds of doubt and unbelief, you shall receive stagnation and laziness and poverty. But if you sow seeds of truth inside of you and faith, you're going to receive and be a conqueror. And you're going to rise up above obstacles and circumstances and move out from the place you are. Let me tell you what now. Okay. So it matters about what you believe. It matters how you believe what you believe. Because what you believe, it builds and it promotes your value system. What you believe, and it promotes and it establishes the type of faith that you would live by. And faith is a lifestyle. People made it out of organized religion. Let's get away from organized anything when it comes down out to outside of yourself. Think about the organization within ourselves in terms of individualism. Let me tell you, you might not like what I'm getting ready to say. But this is a one-on-one thing between me and you. Everybody else that don't like it and don't want to be a part of the conversation don't have to be. That's their choice. But let me tell you, for so long, we as individuals have let somebody sit in front of us, whether it's in a classroom, in a university or school of some kind, or whether it's inside of an organized church building, or whether it's inside of a lecture hall or whatever. We allow one man to stand up in front of us and tell us everything and that he wants us to know. And then he get, especially in religion, they'll give you their philosophy, and there's so many religions and ideas out there about the good book, and it's a good book when you're using it in the wrong way, but it can be a bad book when you're using it in a bad way. We have people use the Bible to kill, steal, and destroy. We done had people use the Bible to bash people over the head, beat they women into submission, and have them in fear and make them second-class citizens. We use that same Bible and all these other holy books that we call holy books and made them a thing of ill repute and unholiness. And it ain't got nothing to do with what's right and what's pure. When it's in the wrong, and when it's in the wrong hand of somebody telling somebody of using it as a tool of control and manipulation. And that's what the Bible has become to a lot of people in this country and in this world. A source of control, where another man stand up there and control the masses. And they, if you can really control people real good when you use fear. You can use fear to control. Yeah. You can use fear to make somebody do what you want to do and tell them, oh, you're going to hell. If you don't straighten up and get yourself right, you sinners, you homosexuals. That's one of the first things that a lot of people do. They point out particular wrongs that they consider wrong. And so they, and while back in the background, they hide the fact that they beating their wife and kids, and that they are hiding the fact that they are actually alcoholics or they're drug addicts and whatnot, and destroying and being abusive to their own bodies and their own families, but yet they'll talk about somebody else where they think that is wrong and according to what they see in the Bible. And they take it and they'll twist it and use it as a source of hatred and as a source and of a plague. And you know what? And it just goes against the whole principle of love. It goes against the whole principle of freedom that we have in the anointed and his anointed one. And I'm going to use that term just to say how much freedom it is just to be anointed, just to have the freedom to love somebody. That's what anointing is. The freedom, the issue, and the power to love beyond all that which is dealing and involved in it and encased in hate. It is breaking free the cage that we have put and made out of ourselves. You know what? We can make a cage out of ourselves by thinking in a negative way for so long. But you have those men that stand there and they say, okay, you're going to think the way I think. You're going to act the way I act. You're going to act like the group act, and take away your individual choice and decision to make choice of your own how you're going to conduct your life and be and live. That is not what I'm after. That is not what you should be after as an individual. Your opinion as a person matters. Your thoughts matters. What you are matters. And that's what individualism is about. It's about resolve and reconciliation of the self and who you are as a person, using the God-given abilities to make choices about life. And you can do it. And your choices and your will has not been taken away from you. And you don't have to do it. You don't have to do what the beast say. Bow down to me and to this golden image that is being created throughout this world, and materialism and pleasure and guilt and shame and sexual immorality. You don't have to bow down to somebody to make you to do what they want you to do. Just molesting you and raping you and taking away your very soul. Come against it. Rise up. Forget about it and work through it and rise up as an individual. Take and own your personal power. And I've studied over the years a lot of individuals and a lot of books that has influenced my life, and a lot of people have influenced my life as I read and I study. Oh, I love it. I love the great philosophers of all ages, and I love to read their thoughts and whatnot, even back in the old times of Socrates and Plato and all of those great philosophers. But they just had pieces and bits of it. Oh, they just had pieces. And then they come on in the modern ages, and this guy that wrote The Secret, and I forgot his name, but he did a good job of bringing it all together. And then I like Gandhi, and I like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, what they had to say. I've studied them. I also like those people who had something positive and wonderful say. Samuel Clement Stone, Zig Ziglar, Kenneth Copeland, and I'm telling you more, and the great people of faith, and they teach faith, and they trying to help people, to let people know and to teach people know how to believe. And all things are possible if you believe. And ain't nothing wrong with believing in yourself. We have given that word self a bad rap, because we so often think of self as something as selfish, being selfish. We think of self as something as being negative, like self-centered and self, all these other self words. But there's other positive self words too, like self-discipline and self-control, and self-love, self-value, and self-worth. And all those are good and positive self-words. There's nothing wrong with the self. And we don't have to put the self on a shelf as an idol and make an idol out of our own self, because we are not all powerful and we are not all knowing. We're forever learning, and we hope to come to the knowledge of the truth. But we can't do it just by having knowledge alone, but we got to act on that which we learn. Okay, now, getting back to what I was saying about just defining these words: individualism, the philosophy, and resolve. We're going to deal with those three words. I've dealt a little bit about individualism and what I mean by individualism, and you know what I mean about the self, and resolve, and coming out of using your personal power and your decision-making progress to be free in life and to gain freedom and abundance for life and living. And then that's that word philosophy. Word philosophy got a bad rap also, because there's so many people with ideas that's twisted and that doesn't promote love for a self and God and individuals other than yourself. Some philosophy needs to be discarded when it comes down to bettering the society and the nation and communities as a whole. Some philosophies don't need it. Hitler had a philosophy, a social philosophy of control, and he put it into action, and he was successful in it. He was successful in controlling a whole nation of people, making his ideology and his philosophy about how people should treat each other and who should be deserving and who should not be deserving. It worked for him and worked for that nation for a short time. But let me tell you, there was some more people that had philosophy too, and that's when his philosophy about socialism, or his form of ideas, political ideas, came in opposition with the political ideas of the rest of the world. And we know the story, what happened to him. He came crashing down. So there's some philosophies, just like the philosophy of Helter Skelter, these powerful men that control people, and these Jim Jones even took almost 1,000 people down to Ghana in the 1970s and made them drink poison, and they plunged to their death because they believe of the philosophy, the religious philosophy of a madman, of an insane person. And so there are philosophies that need to be discarded and philosophies that are bad. But the word philosophy itself ain't bad. It's not bad. Because the American Heritage Dictionary explains it as the love of wisdom, the love of knowledge, and to attain it and to put it in action, the love of truth. And that's and also the study. Great philosophers love life. They seek to knowledge and find out. They said Sir Isaac Newton was sitting up under the apple tree. The old nursery rhyme that we hear and from Schoolhouse Rock growing up, and ABC put out there. And old Sir Isaac Newton was sitting up on the apple tree, and he had a thought. He thought about it. The apple hit him on the head. There must be something that's dragging this apple down. Why did it ain't stand up there? Why did it have to hit me on the head? Maybe he thought about all those things, but he was a philosopher. He thought about it, and he started putting pieces together and start thinking about it. And now we have the theories of relativity, and what I guess that was Einstein, but that was the beginning of thinking about gravity, what Isaac Newton was doing and saying, and its force, and its weak and strong forces, and all these different things that the great philosophers had something to say about, and we now have capitalized on. We build upon it, and we're flying, and we're talking to each other through contraptions that are remaining constant and still, but yet are moving. You won't understand it all until you become do that study on that the engineers have done to create it, to make them work. So individualism and philosophy are not bad words. They're actually good words when you put it together and you say, hey, I'm going to learn something, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make something of myself. I'm tired of being a failure, what people think and call being a failure, or hurting my body, hurting my family, hurting myself, and not benefiting in life. Because you know what? One of my favorite and greatest philosopher of all times, you already gonna know who I'm saying, who it is. It was Christ. He is my greatest, and he is my primary source of philosophy, which is the love of knowledge and wisdom in life. And he says so many wonderful things, and I know people twist what he say and use it for their own gain and their purpose, and made a whole vocation out of being clergymen and taking people's money, and and not ministry like he did. He was a great minister also. He was the Son of God come in the flesh, and he proved it by how he blessed people's lives, and and not taking, like he bashed those philosophical and philosophers of his day. Supposed to have been the priests and holy men with those big long robes flowing down, and he came through and said, "You hypocrite." Matthew 7:5. You take out the mote the plank in your eye before you try to take out the mote in your brother's eye. Stop judging people and putting down people. You know what? Usually when people judge people and put down other people and criticize them to the point, they hating something about themselves that they don't like when they do it with others. And that might not be all the time, but there's a lot of times people are hating what they see in themselves when they criticize and judge other people. Take out the plank that's in your own eye before you try to take out the mote in your brother's eye. And we are all human beings. And if anybody stand up in you with old robe on and and try to make it like they ain't never did nothing wrong, that they perfect, and you low on a low totem pole as compared to who they are, and that they have some elevated status in the social arena because of their name and the titles that they have. Let me tell y'all, titles, and I'm sitting here plain like a plain John in front of you with a tank top on, a black tank top on, and sitting in front of you with a tattoo and everything, and I ain't trying to portray nothing that I'm not. I've been in trouble before, and I did stuff that I ain't supposed to have done, but I didn't have to stay there, and I don't have to let nobody label me in a bad light. And when I went through my trial, the prosecutor tried to portray me something that I wasn't. I couldn't prove my innocence. I was guilty in one area, but I was not guilty of what they charged and convicted me of, a murder. I did not do it, and I did the time, and I don't have to sit and explain and go into that in detail. Because it was done, it was 21 years ago. And it's been a long, long time. And I'm going to let it die and bury it. But one thing about it, I've experienced it. I experienced it. But now I got to go on and move on and live life to the fullest. I don't have to be a bad person because somebody said I was a bad person. I don't have to accept that label and accept that, you ain't nothing and all of that. No. There's a lot of us that did wrong and and never got caught for it. And then there's a lot of people that has been falsely accused, you better believe it, and could not prove their innocence. And I'm not, and I must agree that I wasn't completely innocent, but I was not guilty of what I was convicted of. Hey, but I was convicted, and I had to do some time, and I did it, and now I'm alive and well, and I'm free on the inside, and I was free on the inside when I made an individual decision and a resolve that I am not going to accept the negativity that people try to place on me and to give me. And you must do the same thing. Refuse to accept it. Refuse to accept it. If you ain't never been in trouble before like I have, if you never went through prison or in jail, but you have suffered a jail and a prison of negativity and doing your life and your family, and you have heard that in your ear all your life over and over and over, and you've been depressed all the time, being oppressed by something someone said. Maybe your father or your mother said it and told you you ain't gonna be nothing. Your daddy wasn't nothing, and you ain't gonna be nothing. And that's how it is in your family. People in your family always been drunks, and you gonna be a drunk. You ain't got to accept that. Don't accept it. That's what I'm telling you, and I'm begging you, please. If I can persuade you to do anything else, don't accept that negative stipulation. Just like young black men, don't accept that you ain't nothing. Don't accept what society has labeled you as. And you know what? And because some of young men have been trapped in it, and not just black men, white men, and all kind of men and women, have gone through it, just like women. Oh, the white women, black women, Hispanic women, Asian women, they go through some terrible stuff in this world and different cultures of society. Even in our society and in our culture, women get a bad rap. Even women that are strong, raising their children by themselves while their men are gone and they can't, and there's nowhere to be found. They doing the best they can, and they doing a good job at raising us by themselves. And and I said us, but because I'm meaning that I'm a member of the community that I'm in. But because my father was there, Charlie Harris was a good man, and he always been good to me, and I love him with all of my heart. And I thank God for Carolyn and Charlie Harris, who are my parents. They wasn't their fault that I got into trouble. I went out and made some bad decisions. And I was the individual. I got my own mind. And there's a lot of time when parents feel like, oh, what did I do? What did I go wrong? Yeah, everybody got to own up to what they did wrong. And that's why those of us who have gotten in trouble in the past must own up to what we have done and say, yes, I did wrong, and what you have done wrong, and don't accept nothing that you don't. And those young men who are going through court now, if you didn't do it, you say you didn't do it, and you stand on it, and you try. And I know that you the state's supposed to prove you guilty, and you innocent until proven guilty, but they a lot of times it don't seem that way. It don't seem that way when you get locked up before trial, or you get out on trial. You wearing a wrist mechanism, a contraption around your ankle, keeping tabs of where you at, and you have become a prisoner in your own community, and you ain't been convicted of nothing yet. Hey, it might seem like you ain't innocent until proven guilty, but if you didn't do the crime, you say that you're not guilty, and you do everything within your power to show the courts that your innocence is true. Now, they're not always paying it out. You know that. There's all kind of people now coming forth, especially when the DNA was discovered, and found out that there's a lot of people that has been convicted and was not even innocent. Not even guilty, but they were innocent men. They were accused of rape and murder and all this kind of stuff, and was innocent the whole time. And that's coming out. Even now, cases are being over and over and over. And I'm going over that, but just going over with these words of philosophy, individual philosophy and resolve. So the point is that we are individuals, and we have the right to stand, and we have the right to make our choice in life. And that's what individualism is all about. Choices that we have, decision-making processes that we can adopt in our lives. And then that word philosophy is having the love, getting in love with wisdom, and not getting in love with negativity. Not getting in love with hatred and violence, and not being in love with misogynistic ways of hurting people and women. It seems to be so. Some people have embraced ignorance and embraced violence and embrace hurting somebody else, and they love to see somebody else just when they see it on the news, they messed them up, they killed them. You know what, we become in love with the villain. As growing up in my generation, we love the hero, the Superman and Batman, and as they come in and they fly in and they save the day, we love to see those heroes in our lives, growing up. But there's some people that love the villain, like Hitler, like what he did, and like how he just controlled people and conquered and killed all those people and everything. Now, it sounds like I might be exaggerating a little bit, but it's the truth. The individuals that love violence, individuals that promotes violence, that promotes gang relations and beating the crap out of the next man and beating up his human fellow man and unto a pulp, until where they can't even see and recognize themselves. And they people that glorify crime and how to do it better, robbing somebody and then trespassing and all these other things, and how to do it better. Yeah, it's true. I don't have to sit here and try to persuade you and prove that point. It's written everywhere. But we saying, let's be a person, an individual who loves knowledge, who loves wisdom, the best in life, the abundant life, who loves the truth in every form. Yes, and love helping somebody, being a servant, being kind, loving, those type words, patience and long suffering, gentle, and peaceable. Can't we fall in love with peace? Can't we fall in love with tranquility, serenity? Yes, that's what I'm advocating in this book that I've written, Individualism, the philosophy of resolve. And when you make a resolve, you have a resolve. You have a determined decision that you have devised, that you're gonna make and say that I am no longer gonna do that which is contradicting my abundant living, but it's gonna be beneficial to my life in every area. That's the resolve that you can make for yourself. The resolve said, I'm not going to hurt myself anymore. I'm not going to hurt my body. I'm not going to live in emotional turmoil, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And so thereby, the way out is knowledge, is understanding. In all thy getting, in all thy reading knowledge and understanding words and reading books and of all kind, and all thy getting, get understanding. Understand what you read, and so you can apply what you read and learn into your life. Yes, listening. Now, a word about the great phenomenon that has been taking place within our society over a span of maybe 20 years or more. The groups. Don't you just love it? Don't you just love it? The group sessions and group therapy that's taking place in this country, that has done far greater than the clergy, that has got a better track record than this new science that has been studying for the last 30, 40, 50 years. Psychology, prevalently a new branch of study, and psychologists and psychiatry within themselves, experimenting on people and trying to, you can't, who better to tell you about themselves? You know what happens in most of them rooms, as we see and have testified as a witness over the past in those rooms with the psychologists, and we've been to them ourselves. They sit and listen to what you say, and you tell them, and they have some thought about it, whatever, and so they tell you, give you advice and counsel. One thing about the group sessions is nobody in there is obligated to advise you on anything. And matter of fact, the rules to the group is not to sit in there and try to advise anybody of anything, but to listen. A lot of time we don't listen. We have heard ourselves long enough and whatnot, and listen to somebody else. Listen to the cry of your fellow man. Everybody's individual. Everybody needs to be heard. We need to be accepted. And that this phenomenon with the group is great in this area. And when I'm talking about individualism, the philosophy of resolve, I speak and I share and I pour my heart out to the group, and they listen to me. They have something in common with me. They can sympathize with the weakness of my infirmity, and they'll be made just like I am, because they went through what I went through, and they can relate. And that makes me feel good and makes me feel a part of the group. And I draw strength from the group, and I draw strength from being a part of them. And now whatever that's bothering me, or whatever I'm bound by, either any kind of hurt habits or hang up, now I can feel strength and I can make it through this day. Right now I'm clean and sober, and I'm staying with this thing, this program that I have adopted for myself. And that's what that group therapy all is about. It's something that you decide as an individual, and you say, I'm going there voluntarily. And nobody made me go. Nobody told me to go to the group. I went there because I wanted to be heard. There comes a time that an individual person needs somebody else to listen to them. They need somebody else to help them. They need somebody else to say, hey, I understand what you're going through. And I'm there for you all the way. I might not know everything what to do, but let me just be around you. Let me spend the day with you and just ride. We just ride around and whatnot. And you talk and we just drink coffee. And maybe we sit down at the coffee shop and drink coffee and just talk to one another. You talk for a while and then I say something. And then I say something and then you say something. And that's a magnificent thing, this group thing. I tell you, and it was nothing that's strange. Oh, that great philosopher, that great teacher, Christ, the anointed one, the Son of God, he said, hey, oh, that if whether 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, in my teaching, and what my philosophy, what I'm teaching you about life, if you gather in my name, everything that I represent and everything that I stand for, if you gather in my name, everything that I am offering you, I am right there in the midst of you. In other words, when you write something down in a book and you teach somebody something, you can have that word and the spirit of what's being said last forever, because other people can read it far long after you are dead and gone. And with that being said, Christ is alive forevermore. His teachings is alive. And not only his teachings is alive, the teachings of other great men and philosophers is alive today. That I don't have to name them all. You know a lot of them. You might not subscribe to the teachings of Christ, but there's other men who taught and was on the same page as Christ was on, and that he taught, and that you can glean from them and still be getting his teachings, right? And I'm telling you, but it all leads back to goodness, and it all leads back to wisdom, knowledge and understanding for living and for life. And I'm telling you, it's a great thing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's powerful. It's wonderful. I love it and I love it and I love it. Because there are times within my life that I was at the point where I felt like giving up. When I was in the military, I read the passage that said, don't give up. Some people that give up, and they almost had the answer to their problem, but if they had not given up, and that was me. And I can't quote it exactly like it that I read it when I had it on my locker while I was in the Coast Guard, and I looked at it sometimes and I thought about it, and I don't know, I was at that age I was a whole lot of turmoil was going inside of me, identity things that was happening to me, and I had to get a grasp of, and I had to learn, and people had to help me with, and I thank God that happened, and I got the help that I needed, and I'm free. But I remember looking at those that passage, and I said, man, and I remember it, and I thank God that how it helped me. And how it brought me through some hard times. And that's the great thing about having something written down and having the resolve. It gave me the resolve. It helped me give me the resolve that I need. It was one of the building blocks of me coming out of the personal crisis that I was in, the identity crisis that I was going through as a person. And it helped me to feel good about myself. And I thought about that thing over and over and over until where it has assimilated as a part of my philosophy. Don't give up. The golden strands of hope are fabrics that are bind my heart and my soul together. And to this day, I believe that everybody that's going through something can come out on top. They can be free and delivered and in every aspect of their lives. And I just believe it. I believe the worst person another person that we consider bad can come out and be victorious and live a great and wonderful life. And you got to It would be wonderful if you take that same philosophy of resolve for yourself. You can do it. And I know it. I'm just as happy as I can be this morning. And I'm coming down to 5 to 6 minutes left in this hour that I've been talking to you. And I feel good. I feel good in my soul to be able to pour out of my heart to say that I love you. Hey, that life is good. Life ain't all bad, but you got to see it. You know, right now in my mind's eye, I see a young lady who's sitting in her room in the dark on the floor with her back against the wall and her butt on the floor and her back against the wall. And she got her hands on her head. For some reason, that's what I visualize right now. That's what I see. But young lady, it's beautiful. Life is beautiful. You are beautiful. You have been hurt, you have been abused, and it feels like, and you might feel like nobody cares. What's worth living? There's nothing worth living for. There's no reason to go on, but there is reason. You got breath in your body. You were made in the image of the Creator. You are loved. There is love out there for you. There is love to be lived. There is love to see. Please believe. Find it within yourself to believe and to get up off that floor, cut on the light, take a bath. You're going to feel better as you start moving. You're going to feel great as you start moving around. Call that girlfriend. Call that person that you ain't called, but you know they said something nice to you. Look for those people who said something positive and nice in your life. There is that person. You know there is. That's that little old lady down the street that's always speak to you in a positive way while everybody else speak to you in a bad way. They are people out there because God got them out there. He got people out there all around that's telling you that you're loved and showing you love. He's got people out there that actually care in this cruel world that we live in. You don't have to be afraid anymore. You have breath in your body and you have the power to make a decision for yourself. I'm not going to let this man beat me no more. I'm not going to live like I'm living and abusing myself in prostitution. I'm not going to abuse myself in cocaine. And I'm not going to do it any longer. I'm going to start today. Every journey begins with one step. The person that's been off of drugs and alcohol for 30 years had to do it at 1 second. They had to make a decision. And then they started on the next second. Don't you know it's a lot easier to conquer things in 1 second at a time? Or to think about it in terms of 30 years, you will never make it like that. If you got to conquer a goal, especially people that's been through drugs and alcohol addictions, sex addictions, and all this other stuff that binds the mind and controls the spirit and encage the individual. You don't have to be locked up in cage no more. And them just ain't all the problems that we go through. You know, of low self-esteem, rejection. You know that rejection is powerful. That's rejection. One of my friends, Cornelius McLaughlin, told me, he said, you know, rejection is a spirit. Oh, when he said that. Rejection is a spirit. And you know, it'll bind you just a quick. It'll cause most suicides to happen. But you don't have to commit suicide today. You can be free. And I'm here, I'm a living witness that God can heal, deliver, and set you free. Where you have been bound, all you got to do is pray and say, God, help me. I believe, but help my unbelief. I'm standing in the crossroads of a decision that needs to be made about me deciding whether I'm going to live or die. I'm asking you to please make the choice to live. Please make the choice that you're going to do better by yourself, and that you're not going to let nobody hurt you no more. That you ain't going to let nobody abuse you no more. And above all, you ain't going to hurt and abuse yourself. And I'm glad to make that plea to you today. I don't want to be religious, but I want to be kind and spiritual, which is the true wisdom. That concludes our hour together. May you forever be blessed as we go into our next topic. You know, I talked a little bit about individualism, the philosophy, and resolve. And I didn't go into detail into the notes, and I always do that. But we'll talk about it more in a little bit as we tune in. And then, you know, I want to go into about that group that I was just talking about. The group sessions and guidelines and specific behaviors, group participation guidelines, and how that group, that phenomenon about the group therapy, and why I think it works, and why I think all this other stuff has been failing and falling apart and stuff, and this fake hypocritical stuff. Like Jesus did, he bashed it. He knocked it out. Them old folks that thought that they was somebody and that they was better than everybody else because of the clothes that they wore. Okay, until next time.